bladder needed emptying. Sighing, she looked at Hemi's paw and saw the sock was starting to look baggy. She needed to fix it up as soon as she could. Up ahead, the highway patrol car came into view again. He had a white Honda pulled over and appeared to be at the driver's window writing a ticket. Cara considered walking right on by him, tempted by the sudden growl from her belly. But she knew better than to take that chance. Quickly, she stepped off the shoulder of the road. Cara kept her steps quiet in the hopes that the officer wouldn't notice them. The brim of his hat hid his face as he kept his attention on his clipboard. They were just about to the tree line when he looked up. "Come up here!" he yelled out briskly, then lifted a hand and beckoned her closer before looking back down at his papers. How 3 little words could hold so much authority, Cara didn't know. But she'd always been a rule follower, and his command froze her in place. Hemi looked up at her, questioning the interruption in their pace. Or maybe he sensed the terror that flooded her from her nose to her toes. Was her short journey going to be over? Would she have to go back and be held accountable? Hemi wiggled, bringing her back to the present. She sighed, then slowly began walking until she was behind the patrol car. She led Hemi to a grassy spot farther from the vehicles zooming by on the road. She looked down at him. He seemed to raise his eyebrows at her. She owed him an apology. He was going to have to find his family on his own now. Should she scare him off? Stomp at him to get him to make a run for it? He waited, looking up at her with such trusting eyes. But perhaps the officer was a dog lover and would make sure Hemi got to go where he needed to go. Would keep him safe and not just drop him at a shelter. "Sit," she told him, her decision made. To her astonishment, he did. "Good dog." They waited, and finally the officer ripped a paper from his pad, handed it to the driver of the Honda, and gave him permission to take off. Cara noticed the patrolman was a nice-looking man, maybe in his early 30s, thin as a rail, but he still held himself proudly and with confidence. He was the kind of man who would turn her sister's head far too quickly. Hana always said she loved a man in uniform. "Have a nice day," he said, walking away from the white car and straight over to where Cara and Hemi waited on the grass. "Do you really think they're going to have a nice day now that you wrote them a big fat ticket?" Cara asked. She was shocked at her forwardness, feeling like the inner Hana in her had suddenly emerged. She wished she could stuff the words back into her mouth. He frowned at her, then looked off over her shoulder. "Let's put it this way. Just last month, we pulled a woman from a car after she hit a tree doing 71 miles per hour. She was wearing her seatbelt and every airbag around her went off, but she still died instantly. The saddest part is, she left behind 3 small children who thankfully weren't in the car with her that day. That person I just ticketed was doing over 80 miles per hour. Don't you realize how reckless a person's driving turns when they get into that range of speed?" Cara shook her head. How could she? Her car had only gotten up to 50 on a good day, and that was with the pedal to the floor going downhill. "Where's your car?" he asked, looking behind Cara. "I'm walking." Cara didn't bother to tell him that she'd had a car, but it had died in a huff and a cloud of black smoke 3 days before. She looked at him, letting what she knew would happen just happen. The expected pause. Next, the appraisal. And hopefully, the dismissal. It didn't matter if she was standing on the edge of a long highway or serving someone from the other side of the counter at one of her many low-paying jobs or simply daring to walk among the perfumed, fancied-up people who lingered at the makeup counters in the mall stores. Because she looked poor, people assumed she was stupid. And because they assumed she was stupid, they barely acknowledged her existence, and if they acknowledged her existence, it was only for a brief moment of pity. To one of the chosen few, like this patrolman, Cara and her sister had always been mostly invisible. "Okay, no car. But what are you doing walking along the interstate?"